Have you ever sit down in the morning, enjoying your coffee, and suddenly go philosophical and thinking, how many different fighting game subgenres are there? This genre started in the 1980s. Now, there are plenty of subgenres in fighting games, not unlike other genres like RPG, who also have more specific subgenres of their own. So, in this video, we will talk about specific subgenres of fighting games. 2D fighting games. Of course, we cannot open this discussion by talking something other than 2D fighting games. Started in 1991 with Street Fighter II, this is the genre that most people are thinking about when talking about fighting games. Or at least that's what I assume. I didn't do any survey about this, don't blame me. The genre is really straightforward. There are two people on screen on a 2D plane, one on the left side and the other on the right side, and they are fighting each other. The special moves are done by inputting directional inputs and a button. Examples of this game include Street Fighter series and King of Fighters series. 3D fighting games. The next subgenre we're gonna talk about is 3D fighting games. The first game to ever try third dimension is Virtua Fighter by Sega for the arcade. This genre added a sidestep movement feature to move around in a 3D space to maneuver around enemies' attacks. It is also common for the stage or arena to have an edge, and players can win the game by way of ring out. Examples of this genre include Virtua Fighters, Tekken, and Soul Calibur. 2.5D fighting games. This is basically just a 2D fighting game using a 3D graphics. The gameplay is just like a 2D fighting game, but the characters are made in 3D models, usually trying to mimic anime aesthetics. Games in this subgenre include Guilty Gear Strive, Granblue Fantasy Versus, and GNF Duel. Platform fighters. Now we're starting to talk about a different kind of fighters. Usually fighting games are played 1v1 or one player fighting against another, or maybe just against a CPU in either arcade or survival mode. In this subgenre, however, you can play with up to 4 different people. The stage for this fighting game is also different. It's not just a flat 2D or 3D ground, but you have platforms floating in the air, hence the name. The gameplay for this subgenre is also easier because instead of using complex input to do special moves, you can perform special attacks by just pressing a directional arrow and a button. Examples of this genre include Super Smash Bros. And Brawlhalla. Arena fighters. Arena fighters focus more on moving around in 3D space with the camera following the character, usually from behind the character. This is different than 3D fighting games that still maintains a side view camera angle. Usually, arena fighters are made from anime franchise. Games in this subgenre include Demon Slayer, Kimetsu no Yaiba, The Hinokami Chronicles, Kill la Kill If, Naruto Shippuden, and My Hero Wants Justice. Anime fighters. Even though it's called Anime Fighters, it doesn't mean that this game is made from an anime franchise. Rather, it's called Anime Fighters for its fast-paced gameplay and the focus on aerial movements with movement like double or triple jump and also air dash. Also, this subgenre always uses 2D sprites to retain its anime look. Examples of games in this genre include BlazBlue series and Naughty Blood series. Okay, I think I've covered all the subgenres in fighting games, hopefully. But now that I've come this far, I think why shouldn't I add one more genre? A genre that is full of love and dedication for fighting games. I'm talking about indie games. When talking about indie games, there are usually two different kinds of indie games. The ones that are inspired by the mainstream genre, and the one which the creator has taken his creative juice a little too much. There's nothing wrong with making a game that is inspired by the big titles. After all, those games are the reason why we love the genre, right? I just personally think that the creative games are more fun to play because the gameplay is unique. But that's enough rambling. Here are a few examples of indie fighting games. Inspired indie games. I'm not gonna repeat all the explanations I just did. These indie games' gameplay are very similar in some way to the big titles. These games are Rivals of Ether, Rollout, Skullgirls Second Encore, Dumb's Fighting Hurt, and Idol Showdown. Creative indie games. These are the games that are so creative they can barely be called fighting games. I just categorize them here because of their main gameplay that also includes a fight between two people or a fixed number of people. The games are Ultra Space Battle Pro, Little League Plays, One Strike, and God of Rock. So there you have it, guys. I'm sure I've explained everything I can about the subgenre of fighting games. What do you think? Did I miss a subgenre? Do you have a favorite indie fighting game that I didn't mention here? Tell me about it down below, and I'll see you guys next time.